The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
There's nothing golden about silence in a child's world. Ever hear of a bionic ear? Osteoporosis. Now a test may spot this bone disease before it fractures your life. If you're having difficulty having a baby, there may be new hope. Advanced cancer, incredible bone pain. Is there relief in sight? Replacing your contacts may be as simple as dialing the phone, and there's a new weapon in the battle against AIDS. We'll cover all these issues today on Today's Health. This program is brought to you in part by Advanced Bionics Corporation, Beckman Instruments, Ferring Pharmaceuticals, 1-800-CONTACTS, International Murex Technologies, and by an educational grant from DuPont Pharma.
How do you feel today? The answer to that simple question can mean the difference between a great day and a major challenge. When we feel strong and full of energy, just being alive can be invigorating. But when we're not feeling well, the simplest tasks seem impossible. Hello, I'm Faith Daniels, and this is Today's Health. Can you imagine a world without sound? For many people, they don't have to imagine, it's reality. Fortunately, an innovative technology may help bring the sense of hearing to some children.
There was a time when young Mariah Miller used sign language to communicate. Now he's able to listen and speak thanks to modern medical technology. More than 1 in 1,000 children are born deaf, and it's estimated that there are more than 2 million deaf Americans in the United States alone. Their world is silent.
When it was finally diagnosed that Mariah was indeed profoundly deaf at 18 months of age, we were really devastated. I had worked with deaf people. I had worked with deaf children. As an interpreter, I had been in the school system. I knew a lot about deafness, but when it hit my own family and it was my own son, nothing can prepare you for that.
In the Millers' search for answers, they ended up here at the University of Miami Ear Institute to see Dr. Thomas Balcony.
On the decibel scale, normal speech is somewhere between 40 and 60 decibels. People who are profoundly deaf may not hear a fire alarm, may not hear a car horn, may not hear a vehicle backing up with its reverse alarm on. So it becomes a safety issue as well as a word understanding and language issue.
Initially, we started out signing with Mariah, and so I felt a lot of pressure on my part, because here Tina was fluent in sign language.
Dr. Balcony introduced the Millers to a new bionic ear called the Clarion Cochlear Implant.
Cochlear implants are computerized electronic devices which take the place of the inner ear for people with nerve deafness.
Developed by Advanced Bionics Corporation, the implant works by receiving sound waves in the microphone and transmitting them to a mini computer where they're converted into electrical signals. These signals are sent via radio waves to the surgically implanted device, which stimulates the hearing nerve. Like in a normal functioning ear, the hearing nerve carries these signals directly to the brain, where they're interpreted as sound.
The most important benefit from a cochlear implant for a child who is deaf is the ability to develop oral language skills. By doing so, the child will be able to live within the family and his own community, be able to attend her own public schools, be able to learn to read, to have a job, to lead a life which is most similar to that of her or his parents.
I really enjoy music, and he could never share that with me. And he has taken on a new love for music. And that's just so exciting to watch him dance around the room or, sing with his brothers and sister. That's a whole new realm of things he never did before.
Currently, over 600 children have been treated with the Clarion Bionic Ear, and their lives have been enriched with the sounds many of us take for granted.
Millions of people may have osteoporosis, and a broken bone was the usual way to find out until now. Wanting a child and having a child don't always go together, but there may be new hope for couples facing infertility. Next on Today's Health.
If you've ever been sick, you've experienced nature's warning calls, symptoms. But what if there was a treacherous disease that had no symptoms, such as osteoporosis? By the time it's detected, this disease can cause irreparable damage and ultimately could be fatal.
Osteoporosis is a major public health issue. It is a disease which has no symptoms and afflicts 15 to 25 million people in the U.S. alone. Often, the earliest signs of the disease is a fractured wrist, and even more seriously, a broken back or fractured hip.
Osteoporosis really means loss of bone tissue. As we get older, bones become thinner and just waste away. This occurs particularly in women after the menopause.
Symptoms of osteoporosis can be found clinically by a decrease in height, perhaps early back pain, kyphosis or a hunchback.
I didn't know that I had osteoporosis because I had no symptoms, but my doctor recommended a blood test that would then show that. So the blood test, in fact, did show that I had decreased bone density and osteoporosis. So he then recommended that I have replacement hormone therapy and then have periodic blood tests to show whether the replacement therapy was working or not.
The results of traditional diagnostic tests such as X-rays, which measure the success of hormone replacement therapy, aren't conclusive for up to 2 years. But advancements in the field of laboratory testing have been very encouraging. Beckman Instruments, one firm involved in the research and development for new clinical and laboratory methods, have recently developed a new blood test called OSTACE, which can accurately measure how well bone is responding to hormone replacement therapy in a much shorter period of time. In fact, OSTACE is the only blood test which can be used in the U.S. to aid in the management of osteoporosis.
Generally, doctors prefer tests that are performed in blood samples rather than in urine samples because the concentration of urine varies so much.
The testing that it took to find out if I had osteoporosis was very quick. They checked everything, and they took blood tests and they checked everything, and they found that I was low on estrogen, and he changed my thyroid medication. So those two things were the two big things that really helped out.
Osteoporosis is a silent predator. Its victims are unaware of the relentless destruction occurring within their bones. But through medical research, new diagnostic tools are now available to help manage this debilitating disease. It's up to us to heed the warning.
For many couples, having children is what marriage is all about. But sometimes infertility can get in the way. There are many reasons why a couple may not be able to conceive. Fortunately, there are also many solutions to help them start a family.
I didn't want to hang out with my friends sometimes and my sister-in-laws as much as I loved everybody because they had kids and it hurt. It was just really hard and I felt bad. It wasn't envy. It was just, please, give us a child.
Many couples having difficulty conceiving don't realize they have a very common problem. In fact, in the United States, more than 5 million people experience infertility.
It's actually a very common problem. Roughly about 10% of couples who are trying to get pregnant will have some difficulty. A lot of people actually don't realize that causes of infertility are actually almost as common in the man as they are in the woman.
For 2 years after getting off the birth control pill, I realized I think we're having trouble conceiving. And it was at that point, after 2 years, that we decided, let me go ahead and start seeking some doctor's advice. We went to 2 separate OBGYNs. He had a surgery. We did artificial insemination. We did a pre-zygote treatment. And the last procedure that we did was in vitro fertilization.
Any couple who wants to conceive but is unable to after 12 months of unprotected intercourse should consider speaking to a health professional. There are many different forms of treatments available on the U.S. market. One of the most cost-effective is this Repronex injection, which aids ovulation.
Ovulation induction is basically stimulating eggs to be produced. Treatments like in vitro fertilization, where you want to aspirate eggs from out of the ovaries to fertilize them outside the body, the woman needs to take ovulation-stimulating medicines in those sorts of cases.
The frustration and heartbreak involved in attempts and failures to have a child can be psychologically taxing and strain relationships. National organizations exist which can provide support and information to people experiencing infertility, like this support group sponsored by Resolve and Inside.
There are many options available to a couple that wants to have a family. With a combination of medical treatments and emotional support, most couples can discover a way to become parents and create the family they've always dreamed of.
We did in vitro fertilization. And we're happy to say that we're pregnant with triplets.
The tragedy of cancer can be compounded by the agony of bone pain, but for many cancer patients, there may be relief in sight. New therapies may help reduce the pain and help people return to their daily routine. Coming up next on Today's Health.
When our bodies hurt, it can put everything else out of sorts. For many people suffering from breast, prostate, and lung cancer, constant bone pain can interfere with their lives and their battle against the disease. Recently, however, the FDA cleared an innovative drug that may bring relief and new hope.
When I've had bone pain, it felt like, well, send this measure from 1 to 10. It's about 95%. It hurt, and it hurt bad.
Cancer is a vicious enemy. It wears you down physically and emotionally. Especially in cases of advanced prostate and breast cancer. Severe and overwhelming bone pain can make the fight against cancer even more challenging.
Cancer bone pain is caused by the expansion of cancer cells into normal tissue, and it invades into the nerve endings in that tissue, and that we perceive as pain.
But today, there's new hope. Promising new pain therapies, like this one called Quadramet from DuPont Merck Radiopharmaceuticals, are now available for clinical use for physicians nationwide.
Quadramet is an intravenous medication that is given to patients with cancer pain after the cancer is spread to the bone, and the Quadramet acts by releasing radioactivity that gives radiation to the cancer and thereby relieving the pain.
Many of these patients come to the clinic on very high doses of narcotics. They're in a lot of pain, have difficulty getting around, just walking. They come to us asking for help. Many of these patients, after about a week or two, have had dramatic decreases in their pain, have been able to decrease their narcotic use, and many of them have even been able to get off narcotics altogether.
Few people realize that existing treatments, including opioids and external beam radiation, are often found to be inadequate for the long-term management of cancer bone pain. In the case of cancer bone pain, the medication goes specifically to the areas of the bone where there's cancerous activity.
It can not only be used to treat the patient, but to also provide images showing exactly where the uptake has occurred. And this has an advantage of being able to see where the cancer is and where the cancer is being treated.
When I first got my injection, about 3 days, I could tell the difference. It began to subside the pain. The less pain I have, I feel like my body can fight the cancer better than what it does with pain, because you're more active, you feel better, and you got better spirits. I mean, you just feel better.
Each day brings new obstacles and challenges in the fight, but hopefully innovative pain treatments can help the patient maintain the physical and emotional strength necessary to stand up to a vicious enemy.
If you have any questions about any issue that concerns your health and well-being, you can probably find the answer on the internet. In fact, our Today's Health website at www.vstar.com is loaded with information and links to other in-depth health sites. So log on and get the answers you're looking for. In the United States, nearly 1 in every 8 people wear contact lenses to correct their vision. New technology has already made them more comfortable and more convenient to wear. Well, now there's some innovative ideas that may make them a lot easier to replace.
Don't move, don't move. I've lost my contact. Most of us have heard those words before. It's usually followed by people carefully crawling around on the floor. Losing a contact lens not only makes it hard to see, but it can also be complicated and expensive to replace. In the United States alone, about 25 million people use contact lenses to correct their vision.
My doctor recommends that I replace my contacts about every 2 weeks. I don't replace them as often as I should because it's inconvenient to go to my doctor's office to pick them up, and they're also expensive.
Until recently, it was necessary to order your replacement lenses through your eye doctor, but this can add time and expense to the process.
Optometrists only see 3 or 4 patients a day. Thus, it's very difficult for them to obtain price breaks for their patients because their volume is so low. It can also take several days, sometimes weeks, for your contact lenses to come into your doctor's office, and then it takes a return trip to go down and pick them up.
It may surprise you, but in most cases, a contact is not a custom-made, complicated lens that a doctor must create. The vast majority of contact lenses are pre-made and sitting on a shelf waiting for someone who needs that specific prescription.
It may seem complicated, but a contact lens is not that much different than a pair of shoes, with a standard width and a size. A contact lens prescription has 3 parts, and they're all found right on the package: the power, base curve, and diameter.
To help make the process of ordering and purchasing contact lenses more efficient and economical, innovative services are emerging.
Thank you for calling 1-800-CONTACTS. May I take your order, please?
Hi, I need to order some contact lenses. AccuView?
An example of this kind of service is provided by 1-800-CONTACTS, which is also a phone number to call and order replacement lenses by mail.
A mail order replacement service is a way to replace your contact lenses. You simply pick up the phone, call the company, and they send the lenses usually the next day.
If there was a phone number that I could call and just order them over the phone, that would be a lot easier. It would be great if it were a little less expensive as well.
Contact lenses are medical devices and are designed to be identical no matter where or when you order them. By having replacement alternatives, you can choose whatever mix of price, convenience, and speed you need when it's time to get a new pair.
It's a startling statistic. In the United States, half of all new HIV infections occur among people who are under the age of 25. AIDS is one of the most challenging and deadly diseases of our time, and it robs far too many young people of their promising years. But progress is being made, and there is, at long last, hope.
It started in 1983. That's when HIV was identified. Now, approximately 22.6 million people worldwide have AIDS. The diagnosis used to mean almost certain death, but now people with HIV are living longer than ever before.
HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. It stands for human immunodeficiency virus. In a person infected with HIV, normally the virus replicates at enormous levels.
Often the genetic information in the viral cells changes, resulting in new cells called mutations. These mutations can be so different from the original virus that the drug designed to fight the virus has no impact on them. In other words, the virus has become resistant to one or more medications.
If it develops a mutation in the genetic material and becomes resistant, then that drug will no longer kill the virus.
I've been living with HIV for 6 years now. My reaction when I first found out was shock, appall, fear. I've had 2 regimens of protease inhibitors because after the first I became resistant. My practitioner said, let's take you off everything, and I went back to antiretrovirals, which is where I started at.
It is extremely important to be able to identify when a single drug or group of drugs will not be effective against the HIV virus. Recently, an innovative new test called the Line Probe Assay, or LIPA HIV RT test, has been introduced by International Murex to give doctors and patients this information rapidly.
With the LIPA, we can look at the genetic makeup of the virus and see if it's sensitive to the drugs that we might want to be using.
It's very simple. If they have developed resistance to, say, drug A, then you could switch the person quickly over to drug B or drug C.
As AIDS continues its reign of terror, doctors and researchers are searching for new ways to combat HIV. Having diagnostic tests that give doctors a window into the viral mutations may help give them the information they need to keep patients alive until there's a cure.
Because of the medical care that I've been getting, I'm looking forward to turning 37 this year. I never thought I would see that. And I see 38, and I see 39, and I see 40. And I couldn't have said that 2 years ago.
Whether it's a hearing impairment, infertility, or a life-threatening cancer, whatever compromises our health and well-being can confront us with a struggle that tries the human spirit. Hopefully, inspiration and innovation will bring us more answers to help us overcome life's most difficult challenges. I'm Faith Daniels. For more information about anything we covered in this program, visit our website at www.vstar.com and join us again next time as we get right to the heart of matters concerning your life on Today's Health.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.